Alright guys, so we have a bit of a different video here today. The Optic Texas Major 3 CDL event begins tomorrow, and in this video, I'm going to go through my entire bracket, my predictions here for this event. I'm going to have Brian Stats from Twitter review my bracket here. Keep in mind, he doesn't know what my predictions are, so I have it covered on screen for you guys here. And as I'm reading it to him, that's the first time he's hearing what I have here. So I have some hot takes, some upsets, some crazy victories here that he's going to react to, give his analysis on, and all of that good stuff. I'll introduce him in a second. He's a really cool guy, a bunch of great stats over on his Twitter. Links will be down below to him. But I want to get more people into CDL. I think it's a ton of fun. I've been watching competitive COD forever now. The matches, the storylines, the upsets, what happens here, the drama, it all is just so exciting. So definitely be sure to tune into the matches this weekend on Twitch. This is not a sponsor or anything. I just really love competitive Call of Duty and have for a while now. So be sure to watch this video. This is a super long video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and here you go. All right, guys, so I'm here with Brian Stats from Twitter. He posts a bunch of great CDL stats, updates, stuff like that. Be sure to check him out. His link will be down below in the description and in the pinned comment. We're going to run through the Major 3 bracket here. It's this weekend. A lot of insane matches here. So we have Brian on the call right now, and he's going to rate my picks here, my predictions. He's the stats guy. He knows what's going on. I'm a noob. Sometimes I get these right, sometimes I don't, but he's gonna let me know what I'm doing here, if I have some good predictions or not. But we have Brian on the call.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Excited to be here. Excited to talk about these matches. I think it's gonna be an absolutely crazy tournament, and this is pretty much my YouTube debut. So what's up, everyone?
All right, so let's start here first with winners round 1. We have Seattle and LAG. Obviously, Seattle's been looking pretty good. They're 4-1 in the split here for Major 3, but I have them with a close game. They're going to win 3-2, but it's going to be close. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it could actually be a quicker series than 3-2.
For sure.
Mean, Surge just looked absolutely amazing in respawns, and they're finally fixing their S&Ds, which is really what they needed. So I think it could even be a potential 3-0, 3-1, but I think you picked the right winner.
You thinking DoorDash challenge for this one? DoorDash challenge, or you know that?
Oh man, oh yeah. This is that Faze sub DoorDash challenge. Yeah. So yeah, I think this could be a pretty quick one, to be honest. Seattle Surge is looking in great form right now, and LAG, they've been struggling pretty hard. Yeah,
that's fair. I feel like LAG can turn up if things go right, but yeah, chances are they're just not. I'm just gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Thursday, they might come out hot a little bit, but Seattle will still take the dub there. But for the next round 1 match here, I have Faze and Thieves. Rematch of the Major 2 finals. Very interesting. I have Faze 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, for like what you just said, this is the COD Champs 2022 rematch. This is the Major 2 finals.
I forgot COD Champs as well, yeah.
It's pretty insane that this is like the premier matchup in the league this year. So to get in round 1 is absurd. But yeah, Faze going 3-2. I mean, they beat Thieves on LAN last time, so I think that's a pretty good choice, man. I'm probably gonna go Faze for this one as well. So
all right, and we'll go to the other round 1 matches here. We have Texas, Optic Texas, and Boston. Now, I have Optic 3-2, but I do want to say this could definitely go either way, because I feel like, I don't know if there's any stats on this, but I feel like Optic always shows up to tournaments, their first match super slow and super cold. Like I don't know what it is. They start off just not hot, and then they slowly warm up, and then they kind of clutch. I think the last couple of round 1 matches they had were 3-2, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at the exact numbers, but you definitely have a point there, and that's been an issue with Optic for years and years at this point, starting off tournaments slow. But I think they're going to have that Texas buff. They won the last Texas Major in front of their home crowd.
Sure,
and
that crowd cheese.
Yeah, they got that crowd cheese, and now they have a new roster as well. Could still be in a honeymoon phase with Ghosty.
That's true.
Obviously, Breach have Beans as well. So it's gonna a battle of the young talent, 2 really good teams. But I agree with your pick as well. This is a 3 for 3 with me agreeing with your picks. I think Optic's gonna take.
Although to be fair, Boston wins game 5s now, so you gotta give them that. But Optic has a good record with their game 5s, but they have a bad record with their round 11s, right? So that's an interesting aspect. Like where it goes to a game 5, both teams could maybe win, and then if it goes to a round 11, the stats say that Optic chokes those round 11s. So I still have Optic, but I think it's definitely it could be a close one there.
Yeah, I think Optic's 3-6 or 4-6 in round 11, so they definitely don't have that late S&D ice, but you know, one thing that's really held them over this year is their respawns and, you know, winning one of those map 2 early S&Ds. So as long as the series doesn't go to 5, like you said, I think Breach has won their last 2 game 5. So this one's going to be really interesting. I think people might be sleeping on Breach here, and I know we both picked Optic, but I mean, I still think it's going to be a close series.
New York Subliners and Toronto Ultra. Another interesting matchup. 2 pretty good teams. Obviously, Toronto, new roster there with Hixie. I have New York, though, still winning 3-2. Although, Toronto did just 3-0 Subliners, right? So, that could be interesting, but I still have 3-2 New York.
Well, hey, I mean, that's the thing. This has been such a day-to-day COD. Really no sense of just predictability. And you know, you 3-0 a team one day, you get 3-0 the next day. So,
yeah, it's been wild.
I think that's a respectable choice. Myself, on the other hand, I'm really high on this new Toronto Ultra squad. They brought in Hixie. Scrappy talked about it on the breakdown, how Hixie's really helped his map positioning, you know, Insight's map positioning. It was a weird roster change because a lot of people thought Standy was probably the second best player on this Toronto Ultra
I had him for my breaking point pick him, my roster, whatever. So like, I was like, I was shocked.
Yeah, I did as well. And so then I had to ride with Hixie, but he did well. Maybe statistically not the best in the league, but he obviously did what he had to do to give Toronto. To give Toronto a 4-1 record. So, I mean, New York, I think they're looking great. Hydra is still one of the best players in the game. I also think it's going to be a 3-2, but I think the Toronto Ultra will be the one squeaking this out.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. So, Elam round 1, we have Vegas and LAG. So, I have... this is actually a rematch from Elam round 1 last time, I'm pretty sure, right? Their Major 2 LAG, I think 3-2 Vegas, or that might have been round 2, but it was a similar matchup. But I have here Vegas 3-2ing LAG. I think Vegas should have won that recent match. They trolled the hard point. They trolled the control. The control they definitely trolled. But I think Vegas will get it in a game 5.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with that. I think Vegas is going to win this. Again, I mean, we talked about it with LAG's first series with the Surge. Like I said, I think that might be a pretty quick series. Not super high on LAG going into this major. Vegas, on the other hand, it's getting to the point where these are must-win games. I mean, they're out of champs. They need the points. They're starting in losers again. And I think this is a huge series for them. I mean, you got Clayster. He's played the second most. Yeah, he's been frying. He's played the second most lands in the history of COD. So I think he has just an unbelievable amount of experience. Obviously, the experience, like he's played more tournaments than all the LAG guys combined, maybe times 2. So I think Legion with their veteran leadership and also just their must-win situation. I think Legion's gonna win this one as well. Very tough round 2 limb matchup for them though, but we'll talk about that later.
Next one here we have LA Thieves and the Rocker. I got probably the swiftest 3-0 you'll ever see. I mean, Rocker ain't looking good. I feel like, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to play well last major, but they had a better split major 2, so I should have seen it, and I think they won their last 2 games, so they were looking better before major 2. But now before major 3, they're going into this major with probably 0 confidence. I mean, I love the guys there. I think they have a lot of potential. But it's the teamwork's not there right now. Afro's slang isn't really there. Who knows? They could potentially turn up. I mean, Bance had a 1.6 on land, whatever it was, whatever that stat was. They turned up on land, so it's still possible. But I can't see it right now with the current state of that team. So I got LA Thieves 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you just said about how just Minnesota to me has been such a confusing roster. I thought on paper they assembled a really, really good squad. You know, Attach is just one of those players who's great every single year. They brought in Bance and Cammy from the successful Toronto Ultra teams of the last couple of years. And then bringing on Afro, who I thought was one of the best players in the game last year, just wasn't on a very successful team. I really thought this was going to be a year he could elevate to MVP status, and it was looking like that at the beginning. But but obviously Rocker just had their worst stage in the history of the CDL for them. They've never even their worst series before this from Cold War to now was 2-3. They've never even won only one game. It's always been at least two, and they went 0-5 for the first time in their franchise's history. I think, and they're going to be running up against rather Faze or LA Thieves. I mean, both of our predictions have it as LA Thieves going to this losers bracket. I don't see a scenario where Minnesota wins this, despite a top 3 placing at the last major. I don't see a situation where they exit elimination round 1.
Yeah, I completely agree. But for the next couple of round 1 matches here for Elim round 1, we have Boston and London. This is, I mean, I gotta be honest. London hasn't been playing that bad. I mean, the games against Faze were actually kind of close. I mean, Faze won, but it was actually kind of close there. And London doesn't look terrible, but I have Boston still winning. Close match though, 3-2. I just feel like London might get a heart point, or an SND, ASIM might pop off, but...
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it'll be 3-1, 3-2 Boston as well. And I also, again, wholeheartedly agree with your assessment on London as a whole. I mean, you have ASIM, who's been playing absolutely amazing pretty much the entire season. Maybe took his foot off the gas pedal a little bit this past stage, but overall, I think he's undoubtedly been their best player. Nasty made some huge plays. You know, Paul X could turn up when necessary. Scraps is like, it's the weird part talking about this squad, because on paper, you would think that they're a lot better than they are. They're in a similar situation to Legion, where they really need to start winning some games if they want to make it to champs this year. But unfortunately, unlike Legion, who's going to match up against LAG, I think London getting matched up with Boston, a hot Boston team who's looked great beans on their roster. They're finally winning game 5s. I see Boston beating London as well.
For sure. And for the last Elim round 1 match here, we have Toronto and Florida. I can't see Florida winning. I mean, sometimes they play well, but I got Toronto. Close game, though, as well. 3-2, but they're still going to win. I
agree with that pick. I think Toronto or New York, whoever winds up in this losers bracket matchup, I think they're going to beat Florida. You know, Florida is the type of team, they turn up against some good teams. I think they're kind of Optic's kryptonite, which is pretty funny, but there doesn't appear to be a situation where they match up against Optic at this major. I think their tournament hopes are going to end in round 1. And, you know, judging by these picks that we just gave, that means all the teams that are starting in losers round 1 are going to go home after round, or except for Vegas. Vegas to get the win, but the other 3 are going to go home, and that's just the tough part about this format, like just kind of how the CDL is now. You get put in a really tough situation. I think all these losers bracket teams are in tough situations, but yeah, I see Florida going home as well.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, there would be probably better brackets to have. I mean, I miss pool play, honestly, and just other stuff where you just have more teams, more opportunities to play, to win, but, you know, that's for another conversation, honestly. But
oh no, yeah, man, I agree with that.
So Elim round 2, I have Vegas and LA Thieves. I mean, my friend was roasting me for this. I got Vegas 3-2. I think, look, I think Vegas is underrated. They beat Thieves online. Obviously, Thieves turn up on LAN, so that might be, you know, a factor there, obviously. This might be a faded pick, but I think, I don't know, Thieves, to me, haven't looked as good, honestly. I don't know what it is. Like, they turn up, but sometimes they don't. And again, could just be an online thing. But I feel like Draza hasn't really been playing as well, but I don't know. It all depends. Honestly, it's all about Turiel. Look, Thieves might 3-0, but I'm just going to have Vegas 3-2 because I just feel like it might happen. I don't know. What do you think?
Hey, man, I mean, I love the optimism. I think if you were to take a fan vote, probably 80% of people would want Vegas to win this matchup.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, got to go with the LA Thieves here. I just think the LA Thieves stack up much better against Vegas. I think it would be an incredible, like, Cinderella story almost if Vegas gets this win, and it's not completely out of the picture.
That's
either.
what I'm saying.
If we get Vegas in their major 1 form, where they were just wins after wins after wins, kind of making a little run at that Pro-Am tournament. I think at the end of the day with the CDL, the skill gap is, the lowest it's ever been in the sense that any team can beat any team. So I don't think you're completely faded for that pick.
Okay.
I hate bet against Clayster as well. He just seems to persevere when he gets doubted every single time. But I think at the end of the day, they're running into a tough one here for losers round 2. It's pretty wild that Thieves or Faze are going to be in losers pretty much, right away, considering they match up in winners round 1. So I think it's an unfortunate side of the bracket for Legion. I gonna have to disagree with you here and go with the LA Thieves, although I would love to see Legion get this win here and really mess up some people's brackets, everyone's bracket except yours.
I mean, yo, last bracket I had Vegas winning the whole thing. I was trolling low-key, but like I just, you gotta have the hope. You gotta have the hope sometimes.
No, I mean, I love that team. I think they should be better than they've been. And like you said, Two Real is the one to look out for. I think he was on Florida last year for only one tournament, maybe 2. But he didn't really get a good showcase. But I think he's been playing a lot better in this game compared to last game. So even though that seemed like a question mark getting rid of Pro Loot, I do think this is a team that can make moves, but now they have to go against the defending world champs. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but the next Elim round 2 match here, Toronto Boston. I mean, I got Toronto 3-1. I think they'll turn up against Boston. Boston's good. It's pot. I mean, again, could I see Boston winning? Yeah, I could definitely. If they turn up, yeah, for sure. But I think Toronto will get that losers bracket final. They won't play as bad as they did Saturday last major 2. They might have some PTSD, but I feel like they'll get the dub here.
I agree with that. I think this is one of those toss-up series for sure. Toronto versus Boston. Both teams looking really good going into this major. It's pretty wild that one of them's gonna have to go home with a top 8 placing, judging by how this bracket works. And I think when you have a talent like Scrappy, he's not only been Rookie of the Year locked down, but I mean, he is an MVP candidate, bar none. This is a team that's sort of disappointed on land this year with their placings. I think they had 2 5th to 6th placings, which, people are expecting this team to make a grand finals. I think this is the tournament that they really need to, shut up the hate, prove why dropping Standy for Hixie was the right move. And I don't see Toronto exiting this tournament top 8. I see them making a run, and it just so happens Boston's matching up against them. So I'm going I'm going Toronto as well.
I know you want to go Vegas for sure. Look.
Yeah, I'm going Vegas. Yep.
All right, winners round 2. So back up at the top here, I have Seattle and Faze, and I think it's gonna be good, but I got Faze 3-1. I just think Faze is just the better team right now. Seattle, again, might win a hard point. They're better at search, still not as good as Faze. I mean, Faze is the top search team, so like I can't see them really, winning search against Faze, but it's possible. But I regardless, I have Faze 3-1.
I think, on paper, just looking at these teams matched up against each other, FaZe has the upper hand. It is a battle of the, can one of these teams win their weaker game modes? Because Atlanta, you would think Atlanta is just rock solid in every game mode, but they've been struggling on hardpoint like crazy this year, actually. I don't even think they're a top half hardpoint team in the league right now, whereas Seattle is one of the best hardpoint teams in the league. So when you have that map 1, map 4 advantage to Seattle, map 2, map 5 to Atlanta, can one of them win their weaker game modes, against their opponent? And then that control is going to be huge as well. Seattle, got a big win on land against FaZe at Major 1 to lead them to the grand finals, which they placed in 2nd. But I think Atlanta is going to get their land win back. They're in top form right now. They're going to feel good after beating Thieves in the first round. I think they take down Seattle and send them to the losers bracket as well. So we agree there.
Yeah. Now for the second round 2 match here, we have Optic and New York. I think it's going to be that Texas Optic crowd cheese, Optic 3-1s. I feel it. I don't know. I think it's a good matchup. I think it's also about Optic's discipline, because you both have a lot of talent, both teams. But again, I was there at Major 2 in Boston, watching Optic play Thieves. They should have had that series. That should have been a 3-1 Optic, but, you know, just little plays, Hook over-rotating on MSC, you know, with like 50 seconds left in the hard point, Shotzzy pushing out into their spawn on Control Fortress. It just, like, things like those, it's just, it hurts, but I think they've been playing a lot better. Just, you know, focusing on the fundamentals and the talent's there. I think the slang is there too. Huke has been playing amazing this split, honestly. So if that all is there for Optic, I think they'll get the dub here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on an important point there about how discipline is one of the probably the biggest factors that's going to go into not just this match, but Optic's tournament hopes in general. You have two players that are very similar, like Hook and Shotzzy, that they will just run like headless chickens almost and just sprint to their opponents, crazy movement, hyper aggression, and sometimes that can lead to a ton of momentum for the team and they're just getting kill after kill, but sometimes they can cost a rotation or maybe even an entire map. So discipline, if this team is corrects their mistakes in terms of discipline and in terms of slowing the pace down, just playing to their strengths, I think Optic is going to beat New York as well. I mean, this is a team that just beat Faze in a huge matchup. They have a ton of momentum. They're in front of their home crowd again. I'm really high on Optic this tournament, and I think they could send New York to the losers bracket as well.
Yep. So after that, we have Elim round 3 here. So we got New York down with Vegas. As much as I love Vegas, and in a different world, if I was feeling trolly and I was feeling crazy, I might have Vegas winning, but I got New York 3-1. New York's just got the slaying power, and I mean, in this matchup, I honestly feel like New York could play without any fundamentals and still win. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, Vegas could maybe pull out the upset, but against New York, I don't see it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would obviously, considering I would have had Vegas losing in the previous round, I don't think they match up entirely well against New York either. And, that's sort of the interesting part about Vegas, not just this series, but the series before that. They'd be playing against a really fundamental team in the LA Thieves, but then you have New York that are just a very slay heavy, also a fundamental team. But
they are too, yeah.
I think New York's teamwork is like on another level. The way they move around the map, the way they calm, the way they hit out points together, and just I don't know. This is just such a well-oiled machine to me.
Yeah.
I'm super high on New York. So unfortunately, if Vegas does do the impossible and make it to this round, I do think their tournament hopes would come to an end with Clayster's former New York Subliners teammate Hydra. Because that you have Clayster in a revenge match as well, like I just said, playing against his former org, but it's same with Temp as well. Temp, former New York Subliner, but I do think the storylines will be there, but I could see New York taking this down as well.
All right, now for the next Elim round 3 match, we have Seattle and Toronto. I have probably maybe not an upset, but this is only like a recent prediction here. Seattle 3-1ing Toronto. I feel like, again, as much as I think I like Scrap, I think he's hilarious. I love the energy. He's like the new Aches. I mean, I love that stuff. And he's been a great player. And that team, I mean, with Hixie here, everyone's been saying Kleenex. Toby's been going off as well. So I think Toronto's good, but I feel like Seattle might just go on another level. I mean, I think the big catalyst for Seattle definitely in the past couple league matches was accuracy. Like Lamar stepped it up a lot, especially on the respawns, and I feel like that helped them out a ton. And of course, Seattle wins searches now too. So a little more slaying with the respawn there to help out Pred and Sib, and then even Mac. I mean, Mac's another catalyst too. I think if they're playing well, Seattle, I almost think is a better slaying team, and if they just perform a little better with S&D as they have been, they could get that 3-1, in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing with Seattle. Like, if you look at this Seattle team, ever since the day they were formed, they have a great stage, great tournament, and then a really bad stage, really bad tournament. And it has flip-flopped for like a year and a half at this point.
Yeah.
This would be that stage where they have a good stage, and they did have a really good stage, so now they just have to show up at the major. I think this is a super tough matchup against Toronto, like an absolute toss-up to me, but I think with Seattle, just judging by their trends, they placed second at the first tournament, got first rounded at the second tournament. I could see them going on a bigger run in this tournament. I don't see them falling top 6. So as long as Pred keeps playing as MVP caliber, I could see Seattle winning this as well.
For sure. I guess we'll do Elim round 4 here. I have New York and Seattle. This is going to be a fire matchup, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, Seattle just 3-0'd New York, right? Yeah, so that was... I think that match could have been a lot closer than it was, honestly. But they did 3-0. You got to give them that. But I still have New York 3-2ing Seattle. I feel like, again, New York... Seattle, they have the talent, but... I'm more confident for New York to actually have that talent on LAN at that match at that moment in time than Seattle. Because Seattle, it's like, okay, they have the talent, but will they actually, will they show up in that match? I think I'm just more confident in New York in that sense there. That last S&D as well, I think New York is just, a better S&D team too. So if it goes to Game 5, I feel like I would give that to them. But, this could easily be Seattle 3-2. I mean, if they clutch up with S&D, I could see that going that way, but I have New York 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited for this Hydra versus Pred matchup. I think watching these two guys go against each other it's one of the best individual one-on-one matchups we have in the league right now. I absolutely love seeing Seattle and New York go against each other for this exact reason. And, I agree. I think with Seattle, I mean, there's a lot of momentum they're going to have throughout this losers bracket run. Same with New York, but I do think New York, I just think they're such a well-oiled machine. They've had proven LAN success. They beat Seattle in the Major 1 finals. They just beat Seattle again, right? Last week. Yeah. So I think at least in terms of their season matchup, that New York has Seattle's number, and this would be quite the revenge game for Seattle if they were to win, but I'd have to give the edge to New York.
Seattle did just 3-0 New York. That was the last match last week. I just said that. I forgot. Yeah.
No, okay. So Seattle 3-0 New York, but New York beat them at the major.
To win
Major 1. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Like I said, I think this is a pretty day-to-day COD as well. You win one week, you lose the next week. So maybe Seattle got their stage win, but when it comes down to it, on this Saturday or whenever this match is going to take place, I could see New York winning and advancing.
Yeah, for sure. Our winners finals. This is a classic matchup here. Atlanta Faze and Optic Texas. Oh man, Sunday winners finals, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be exciting. I have a close game, but I got Optic 3-2. I feel like if Optic has those fundamentals down, they have the talent, they have the crowd cheese, they play well against Atlanta Faze past, what was the stat? Like past 2 years? I forgot what it was, but they've won a lot of games here. I'm feeling those Optic Texas, the Major 1 vibes from Vanguard, where just something crazy happens, they turn up and they win. So I got 3-2.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stat you're referencing is that Optics beat FaZe in 6 of their last 7 matchups.
There you go.
So that's pretty wild. That's actually pretty wild if you really think about it. How, if you were to stack up FaZe and Optic side by side, I think a lot of people would have leaned towards, well, they want Optic to win, but they think FaZe is going to win. They're just too good.
Yeah, you would think FaZe would win, yeah.
That's the thing, man, and I do the pick'ems. Like when I've done pick'ems, typically I've leaned FaZe over Optic, and I've just been proven wrong time and time again. So if this matchup it happens in the winners finals to make it to a grand finals, Optic versus FaZe, I just think Optic's 2-0 against FaZe this year. They're looking really good with their new squad. Atlanta has obviously looked great, but with how inconsistent this game is, that would be, they placed 3rd at the first major, 1st at the second. I think it would be really difficult for them to, replicate what they did at the last major. Obviously, they would still have a chance in the losers bracket, but I actually agree with your pick. I think Optic, I'm done with betting FaZe over Optic. I've done it probably 5 or 6 out of their last 7 matchups, and it's been the reverse.
You're gonna jinx it now. You're gonna jinx it.
Yeah, I might jinx it. I happen to jinx a lot of outcomes when I post different stats on my Twitter, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Optic has their number, and I don't see a reason why they wouldn't win this one as well.
All right, and for our Elim finals now, so Faze gets knocked down here. We have Faze and New York. I'm feeling just some Major 1 vibes again. I think New York's gonna fry. I think it's gonna be 3-1. I think that was the exact stat line from was it Elim finals Major 1, where because New York was in the finals, or in the losers bracket for a little bit. And they knocked out Faze. I think it was right there because then Faze would place third, and they would place third again. So I'm feeling that. I think not Major 2, but for a lot of the Sundays, like Major 1 for MW2 on Sunday, and for a lot of the Vanguard Sundays as well, Championship Sunday, Faze kind of comes out a little slow. I mean, look, with Slasher now, maybe there's more discipline. I don't know. Maybe they just turn up, but I feel like there's a good possibility New York just fries if they're on their game. I think it'll be a 3-1.
Well, first of all, I agree with your prediction as well. The thing with Faze, I mean, we've mentioned it in some of these earlier predictions, and I mentioned how they've just really struggled in hardpoint. Unless we see that early on in the tournament that they're just winning hardpoints and winning them in dominant fashion, I don't think you make it far in a tournament with a weak game mode, especially, you know, if you're starting off every series losing map 1, it's pretty difficult to maintain your composure and win and consistently you know, come back in the series and win. So with New York, I think they're a lot more solid and balanced in their game modes. Obviously they're not as dominant S&D as Faze is. I mean, nobody is. Faze currently the CDL record with 12 in a row. But I think just judging by map 1, map 3, map 4, I could see New York with a 3-1 victory here.
All right, so we have our grand finals. This is interesting. It's the Optic Texas Major. I got Optic in the finals here. Optic and New York. Definitely an interesting one, although my prediction is kind of different. I couldn't put it into the pick'ems, actually, because I have Vegas getting an investment and then actually buying back into the bracket, giving the CDL commissioner a couple grand, and then they buy back into the grand finals, and then they play Optic. So, and then I got Vegas winning. I got Vegas winning the event. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I mean, if the CDL script writers cook that up, I mean, that's why this is the best esport on the planet. They're like cashing in their money in the bank. They're back in.
I got the Optic cheese. I got them 4-2. I think they're gonna come out. They're gonna win this event. They're gonna Ghosty's gonna prove everyone wrong. I think he is a big question mark. I mean, I think he's gonna play well. Obviously, I have them winning the event, but he's gotta just, you know, play his fundamentals, do what he does well, play the hill time. I know people make fun of him for being a hill kitten, but as long as he's doing what he's gotta do, getting some kills where it's needed, you know, playing that, you know, illy type of role, and Shotzi's playing well, Hugh's frying. You know, I think they'll get the dub here.
I mean, this would be a very exciting championship, having Optic versus New York. The one thing I would say about with Optic winning, if that would be, you know, extremely exciting. I think they absolutely have the chance of winning. But if you were to look back in Call of Duty history, there's only 6 players who won their first ever pro LAN. And I specify pro now that Challengers is extremely big. Amateurs get plenty of LAN experience before actually making it pro.
Yeah.
The last person who won, the last rookie who won their first ever pro tournament was literally Scump.
I was going to say, yeah, Scump.
Was MLG Dallas 2011 in Black Ops 1. In the last 12 years, we have not seen a rookie win their first ever tournament. So I think that would be absolutely historical. That would be historical if Ghosty comes out, wins this tournament. I think they absolutely have the potential to do so.
I don't know, actually. I might pick New York, actually. Wait. That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, after dropping that factoid. I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, you know, it is extremely difficult to win a tournament, and it's just extremely rare for a first timer to win a tournament. But again, man, your records are made to be broken.
Yeah,
like
true.
we want to see history, and Optic winning would be absolutely historical. They'd win in front of their home crowd again. First tournament win without Scump. I think if the CDL script writers want to cook up something amazing for us, we would get Optic beating New York and history to be made at this tournament. So yeah, maybe a bold prediction, but I'm gonna join you there, man. I got Optic winning this.
Really? Okay. So any like gut feelings for top three? Do you completely agree with top three here? My top three at least: Optic number one, New York second place, Faze third place. Or do you have any other? I feel like you might want LA Thieves a bit higher, obviously. But what do you think?
Yeah. So I would have to really see how the bracket would work out.
Yeah.
I see. I think Optic, New York, Faze, or Optic, New York, and Toronto. Like,
Really?
because
Okay.
and I don't exactly know if the schedule even works out that way. I'd have to like make my own bracket here, but I'm super high on Toronto. Like I said, I think this is a tournament where they have a lot to prove. They've had some early exits for their liking in the last two tournaments, and with a player of Scrappy's caliber, this team is bound to place top three at least at a tournament, and
Yeah.
I don't see why this one they couldn't. I think New York, New York's a really interesting one as well, where I think, somewhere along the way, we, I agree with your picks, but also, New York would have to accomplish some pretty crazy feats
Sure.
to make it to the grand finals. So I'm interested to see how it works. I think it's going to be a mix of Optic, New York, Toronto, Faze, really, give or take, out of those four teams.
Okay.
Three of them being in the top three. But that just shows how crazy this tournament's going to be, because LAT could win. Seattle could win. Boston's looking really good. We have like an absurd amount of good teams and teams entering their top form going into this tournament. So it's really, really unpredictable. I mean, we're making these predictions, we're talking about it, but I mean, man,
Yeah.
this is
Absolutely anything could
probably
happen.
the hardest. Yeah, absolutely
Uh,
anything could happen, especially in this Call of Duty. This may be one of the most unpredictable tournaments of all time. So that's why we have to give some hot takes, because, those hot takes might actually come true with this tournament.
For sure. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here. But again, that's Brian's stats, guys. Definitely, again, be sure to check him out. His link's down below in the description and the pinned comment. A lot of great stats over on his Twitter for CDL, for specific players. A ton of great Optic stats as well. He'll be covering the event all weekend, so be sure to follow him there. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.